Great, brilliant. And so I'm really, really pleased to see so many people attending this, our first webinar on our database. And it's a pretty unique database. I think it's the first one with over 550 now Black and Asian network organizations across the UK and across sectors. And it's pretty timely to hold it now, since not that long ago, we launched our guide From Here to Diversity. And it took me a long time to get that title, by the way, but I think I can remember it now. And that came out, and there's been a big spike in terms of access to a database since that happened. So we're really pleased about that. And what this webinar is going to cover, I think I'll ask with their slide shortly, but we'll cover how the database, how it started, how it was developed, and how we got to where we've got to now. It'll touch on who's actually on the database, the type of organizations that are on it, and how you as charities might make use of it and make the best use of it that you can. And we'll also pick up on what support we can offer ongoing to those people who want the database and would like to use it effectively and efficiently. And then finally, I'll touch on how we see the database being developed further as time goes on. And there's a chance for you all to ask questions at the end. So that's brilliant. So I'd like to introduce my team. It's a team of three, which is Sammy. If Sammy could wave, and Subeda, and there's Fiona, who's not really on this team, but if she can wave as well, I saw her coming in. And they're my team of really brilliant freelancers who've been working with me on this campaign for at least most of them for over a year. So I'd like also to thank the Co-op Foundation, because I think without their generous grants and their unfailing trust in the work that we're doing, that we wouldn't have got to where we've got now. So their support has been absolutely invaluable. So I'll talk about the background to the database and how it started. So in fact, you can remove the slide if you like, Sammy, now, please. Yeah. And go on to the next one. So when I launched a campaign in 2019, my volunteer team and I decided to carry out a mapping survey of key organizations in the sector to better understand the barriers and challenges to broad racial diversity. And it was really, really clear that because the vast majority of charities have predominantly white trustees and white senior managers, that their access to Black and Asian networks with capacity and potential to provide them with trustees with the required skills and experience would be extremely limited. And it will therefore be a lot easier for them to ask people they already know from within their existing networks. So I saw the database as a practical solution to charities' lack of knowledge and lack of awareness of Black and Asian networks, and as a low cost and affordable solution for charities who are genuine about wanting to diversify and identify, engage, attract and recruit Black and Asian trustees, but don't know how. So we're not looking to change people's minds with the campaign, but I think it's to make the charities' lives easier in terms of having more diverse charity boards. The database is now, as I said earlier, over 500 organizations across sectors, across locations. And it's not a silver bullet for all the hugely diverse trustee needs across the country. What I hope it shows is that charities, they can themselves reach and engage Black and Asian trustees. it's not rocket science. And it shows that there's no lack of potential Black and Asian trustees with the right skills and experience, and that any charity can put together their own list of suitable organizations with the right priorities, resources, commitments, and focus. And I know a lot of you are already doing that. Yeah, if we can do it, so can you. We did it starting from scratch. And for me, the database is actually only a small fraction of the organizations that are out there. And for instance, every university in the UK will have a range of Black or Asian student networks and staff networks. And so far, we've only focused on a handful of towns and cities in terms of local Black and Asian organizations. So there's still more work to be done. And for you guys, there's a whole world of Black and Asian network organizations for you to access and engage, in addition to those on the database. So how do we put it together? Well, so a lot of hard grind and research, internet and Google searches, LinkedIn and other social media contacts. For instance, I had a blue book where I made a note every time I came across a new organization, which came across my radar. Searching for keywords was a big help to us. Search for African, Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean, Asian-led, BAME, any combination of those, and you'll be surprised at what actually comes up. We particularly found Asian-led or Black-led as a good way of identifying local organizations in cities and towns. So that's, I think, the first hot tip of this webinar. And I'd like to thank especially Nyasha Duri, who may not be here, who came in and volunteered for us earlier last year. And within 2 weeks, she added 150 new organizations onto the database. So a shout out to her if she's listening. Another fact is that it's worth highlighting that we haven't ourselves really developed a full relationship with the 550 organizations, other than they're on our list. We've asked them to subscribe to our MailChimp database and have sent out reminders about that. But our capacity is not enough to be able to do that in any full extensive way. And I'll touch about the next steps when we talk about how we're going to develop the database a bit further on. So to date, we've probably got about 100 who've subscribed to the database, which is actually not bad out of 500. And we are currently pushing to increase those subscribers over the next few months. So what that means, that I think, is for you as charities to develop your own relationships with organizations which you think are the best ones for you to engage with. And I'm already working with charities who have refined the list. They're hitting a list of 10, 20, and they're engaging and working with them in a more focused way. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to pass over to Sammy, who will talk about what's actually on the database. So, and there are questions which you can ask at the end in terms of what I've said. Thank you.
Thanks, Malcolm. We'll now look at the various networks and organizations on our database. So we have a large number of charity organizations, and in particular, smaller charities, community groups, and local organizations. So just to give you a bit more context on the local organizations that are listed and how we've identified them, it's important to note that charities, in particular smaller ones, they're still quite reliant on recruiting new trustees locally. And our research has shown us that even in areas with high percentages of people from Black and Asian backgrounds, such as in Birmingham and London, these charities have still struggled to recruit trustees from Black and Asian backgrounds. So that's why we started by looking at local Black and Asian organizations within a handful of main cities such as Birmingham, Bristol, Leeds, London, Manchester. And currently we have more than 100 of these locally based networks that you will be able to find on our database. And additionally, you may wish to look into our university networks for a younger demographic. And these include societies and networks of specific ethnic groups. For example, so as University Afro-Caribbean Society. And in addition, our database also has business and corporate networks such as PwC BANO Network, UK Black-owned social business network, and that comes along with specific skills and experience that you might be looking for example, candidates in the finance or tech sector. And you'll be able to search for these specific skills and experience using the keyword search function, which will show you a few examples at the end. And following on, I'll share some recommendations we have around using the database. So first of all, when you start reviewing the list, you'll be able to build your own short list according to your specific needs using the relevant keywords. And then it's also important to keep in mind of the time frame to allow at least a lead-in time of 3 to 6 months. That will allow you enough time to build those new relationships, reach out to those new networks before circulating the post, and make any necessary adjustments to your trustee advert. And in addition, when doing your background research and putting together your outreach list, is just to make sure to have a look at the website, at the social media pages, and just to check the latest activities, whether they're currently active, so that you'll be able to know whether these are good contacts for you to reach out to. And now I'll go on to a bit more on how to access the database. So this will be for those that have not yet accessed the database, and just for your information, we make it available to charities on a donation basis with suggested donations depending on your size. So smaller charities for £50 and larger ones for 100, and trustee recruitment consultancies that will be 200 or more. And I'll briefly just walk you through the steps to access the database. And just bear in mind that you will get a copy of the slide, but we just wanted to highlight to please include your name when making any donations. This will allow us to confirm and proceed with the database. And in addition, once you've received the database and reviewed it, we're happy to offer an initial conversation to help you guide on how to best make use of the database. And in addition, you will also find other advice and case studies around using the database in our guide, and we will share the link as well. And now I'll hand over to Subeda, who will walk us through the database and using the search function for your trustee recruitment needs. Thanks. I'll stop sharing and I'll hand over to Subeda, please.
Thank you, Sammy. So yes, I will be showing you a short video, which will be a live demo regarding 3 examples of how you can search organizations based on demographic skills that you're looking for in terms of when you're recruiting trustees. So I'll just share my screen now so that you'll be able to view the video. Once the video ends, we do obviously welcome any questions that you have regarding the examples which I've shown you, and we will also be circulating the video to any of you which request it as well.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining this event, and in the following I'll be showing you how to make use of the search function in our BANO database to find a range of organizations that best matches your trustee recruitment needs, whether it's specific location, area, skills and experience that you're looking for. To start off with, let's say you're looking for candidates with lived experience and in particular around the cause of mental health. Bear in mind that when using the keyword search filter, you can key in multiple keywords to narrow your search. Like in this case, keywords include lived experience and mental health. We defined lived experience broadly as personal knowledge about an issue gained through direct first-hand involvement. You'll be able to see the range of relevant keywords you may search for in the last column of the spreadsheet. I'm just going to show you when we go down to the last column in the key search word filter. There would obviously be a list of keywords which appear. So in this example, I'm going to show you by first keying in lived experience, you will see the list of organizations that come up. And then by adding mental health, I'm narrowing the search down and you find obviously a more refined list. It's also very important to note before you obviously search any keywords in this filter, please do make sure you press clear, as this will help unselect all the organizations on the BANO database, and obviously it will help find obviously the organizations based on keywords which you enter, demographic, locational experience. So in this example, I'm going to type in lived. And then obviously we need to find mental health as well. As you can see, a more refined list appears. So as you can press select all, and then it will select all organizations with both lived experience and mental health experience. When you press OK, you'll see the refined list will then appear, and these are the organizations. Which have obviously lived experience and mental health experience. I'd also like to mention the keywords are our understanding from organizations, websites or social media of what are the possible skills and experience that they could offer you. So it might not be entirely accurate in every instance. So charities will obviously need to confirm this with you directly. Okay. So in the next example, I'm going to obviously show you how to search organizations based on locations. We are often asked about searching for organizations in specific cities, regions, for example, Bristol or the Southwest region. Okay. So like I've mentioned before you begin, it's obviously important to press clear all. But in this instance, because obviously we do have to search the organizations, you do have to press select all, so select all the organizations in the BANO database and press OK. And then what you will do is then you will then press the clear all filter again when you start typing in your keywords. So let's say in this example, we are looking for organizations based within the Bristol region. What we're going to do is we're going to type Bristol, use the keyword function, and a list of BANO organizations that are based in this demographic will appear, allowing you to navigate through the organizations of your choice. You should press select all to obviously view all organizations in Bristol, and then OK, and then a list of organizations in Bristol will appear. So in the last example, which I'm going to show you today, it's a more common case that we get asked for. So you obviously may be seeking trustees with specific experience and skills. So let's say in this example, you're looking for a trustee with finance experience. So what you're going to do is just going to go through this again. So obviously make sure you press select all when you've finished typing in your keywords, and press OK. And then what we're going to do is we're then going to press clear. So yeah, let's say you're looking for someone with financial skills. When you keyword, and you'll be able to see more relevant keywords that can help you identify the right organizations. So all the organizations with finance experience should appear. You should then press select all and then OK. And when you press that, what will happen is a list of organizations that have finance experience will then appear. Okay. So to wrap this up, whether you're looking for specific locations, skills, and experience, by making use of the keyword search function and mixing and matching relevant keywords, you'll be able to find and build a more refined list of organizations which you can get in touch with. Feel free to ask me if you have any questions around this, what I've walked you through today, and I'll now pass over to Malcolm, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Zubaida and Sammy, for co-presenting this webinar. And I think that what people have seen is it's a pretty extensive database, but can, as I said earlier, be more extensive. But it will be quite tough for small charities to work their way through 550 organizations without having a clear idea yourselves of what you're looking for. But for me, it shows what can be done. In terms of how we're looking to develop it, we're certainly looking to go more for quality and not quantity, because I think the quantity, is for you guys to do. You know your own areas, you know your own needs. For what we've already got, 550 is a lot. We're looking to identify some more named contacts. So when people do get it, they can go directly to a person within the organization. I think we're looking to get more subscribers so that when you approach somebody that they've already got a relationship with us and they're really interested. And that will take some of the effort of people trying to engage in organizations where you've only got a contact point or an information point. I think also we're now looking to work with regional organizations because it's not just enough for us to do it. A small campaign based in Harrow, London doing it, but I get requests from people from all over the country, one from Yorkshire recently, and I say that there aren't many Yorkshire, I think Tracy's on the call, there aren't that many Yorkshire charities on the list, and yeah, we haven't yet focused on Leeds or that area yet, but we think there's a way of doing that. So I think we were looking to identify more local organizations if there's a demand for it. Clearly, there may be a cost attached to us for doing that as well. So that's part and parcel of the ask. We are keen that more organizations, VCSs, community foundations, similar organizations, similarly support and champion our work across the country. So going forward for next year, the year after, that's something that we're quite keen to do. And I noticed, Lara, yeah, there are two Yorkshire people on the call, and I'm sure that they'll have questions to raise about why, and then more Yorkshire organisations, and conversation happy to have about that. I guess the third area in terms of more support on the website is that we're happy to again offer our services, and from the beginning, from you identifying your needs to talking about who you want to engage, and your advert to make sure that's inclusive and that your process is inclusive as well. So we do offer a consultancy service with people who actually want to work with us in a more focused way. So that's largely is what I think we plan to cover today. I'm sure there are some people on the call who already have the database, so I'll be quite keen to get your feedback in terms of how you find it. We sent a questionnaire out, as some of you may already have got, to try and improve it. We're keen to improve it as a tool. But again, welcome your ideas in terms of gaps. We think there's a corporate networks gap. For instance, there are lots of skills within corporate and business, whether it's financial or HR or media. So I think we're quite keen to plug those gaps as well. So hopefully we're working with partners in terms of that as well as we go forward through to next year. So I'm going to stop there. So if there's any questions in the chat, and then straight open over to you guys for any questions you want to ask at all. So there are 3 questions.
Yeah, we've got quite a few questions coming in.
Okay, so perhaps if people who ask the questions, if they can speak for themselves, that'd be great. So I think I've got Lara. You've got a couple of questions. So if you can unmute yourself, that'd be cool. If you can't, I'll do it.
We're here now.
Yeah.
We over muted each other. What was my first question now? How would a new organization that wants to get on the database, who would they need to speak to get on there?
Yeah. So I'll answer that one first. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Our website, we've got space for people to subscribe through the website. Otherwise, if they hear about us, feel free to get people to email us at our email address.
Okay. The second question was the price range mentioned charities, and then I don't know what the third option was. But my question is, what about organizations that are like community interest companies? Do they fall under your charitable definition?
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
And, one last, it's not a question, it's a comment. I see that this database has a lot more uses than just looking for board members. I think it's a brilliant thing to put all these organizations together, and I see lots of uses, other uses, not just looking for board members. So thank you and well done, all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Lara. To touch on the usage question, you're absolutely right. And I guess for us, we're quite focused in terms of what way, otherwise if you try and spread it too widely for us, end up not achieving very much. But I can see for other people, it's great for volunteers or for executive staff. So I'm not too interested once people have it in terms of how they want to use it. But I think if it comes from us and they flag it up as coming from us, then it's a bit about trusteeships. But thanks for that comment, Lara, and for your questions. We've got a question from Laura Holmes. If she'd like to, if she can unmute herself and ask, that'd be great.
Hi, thanks, Malcolm. So is it possible to tell which the organisations on the database have subscribed with you guys? Because I think that would indicate that they are up for supporting charities with this piece of work.
Yeah. I'm going to just comment first and ask Sammy to talk. I think it's not subscriptions. It's also difficult if you get an email from somebody say subscribe. People it ends up lower down the inbox. So we've got about 100 who have subscribed so far, but that doesn't actually mean that those who haven't subscribed are still not keen to engage. And I just think it's a question of making that contact, making that engagement. So don't necessarily be afraid. You find an organization not subscribed, don't rule them out. It just means, I think, that bit more engagement. I mean, Sammy, I don't know whether you want to comment a bit further on that.
Yeah, we definitely have this recorded and we have this list and we can provide it if you wish to have it. But currently, Subeda and I are still working on getting more organizations to subscribe and to be added to that list. But like Malcolm said, we do have about 100 of those organizations subscribed, and that will be continuously updated as we go along. Yeah, I think that would definitely fall into the current developments of where our database is heading. But I agree with Malcolm that some of the organizations would be, especially if it's relevant to your needs, it could be well worth to reach out to.
Do you guys have any recommendations on how to make the ask, or is it about building those individual relationships before you're making the ask, which is obviously a completely different
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, really, this is not a quick fix. It's not about filling a vacancy for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think it's about developing a pipeline so that when you're ready to recruit in 12 months, 2 years, there's already a pipeline. Advisory groups is one way of doing it, having subcommittees. We're working with people who are doing shadowing, who are doing apprenticeship schemes. So there's a whole lot of stuff for people to engage locally, regional, nationally with organizations. So you start to talk to them about who you are, holding awareness raising sessions, and perhaps doing it with other people. So you're raising the whole ante around trusteeships and around the world of charities. So yeah, but start as soon as you know you want to be more diverse, as soon as you know you're not there yet. So, and yeah, and it will take a long time. Yeah, but thanks. Yeah. Okay, there's another question from Tracy. Tracy, if you'd like to ask the question yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, hi Malcolm.
Hi Tracy.
I just wondered, I know it's early days, I just wondered if you'd had the opportunity to obtain any statistics or feedback from people that have used the database as to how effective they've found it so far.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy, and nice to see you after we've exchanged emails. Yeah, I had a meeting yesterday where I was asked a question from a charity, and about how do we know about the impact of what we're doing. And I think it's difficult for us as one organization to know that longer term impact. Because it's for all charities to be doing their own thing, and actually for the Charity Commission perhaps to be asking charities about the level of diversity on their boards. And we know there have been some discussion with the Charity Commission, but not in an intensive way. It's not really yet on their radar. And there was that Taken on Trust report, which came out about 4 years ago, which highlighted the makeup of trustee boards. And I think the ask to the Charity Commission is for them to do that report again, so that we know what progress has been made, not just by me, but other organizations who are doing similar stuff. So that's a long answer to your question. So actually, I only know when people tell me, but I know I've got some good feedback from people about their engagement with us and how helpful they found it.
Oh,
I guess it's for us to think going forward what more we need to do, working with other partners in terms of how we start to measure the impact that we're having.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Yeah. Is that answer your question, Tracy?
Yeah, it does.
Again, our advice is not just recruiting one trustee, but we recruit 2 or 3, because one implies tokenism, and if you're as that sole voice, it's often imposter syndrome. It's often lack of confidence and it's lack of how you're viewed by other people. So the more you take on at any given time, then the better. There's a question from Prue. Prue, hi Prue. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, and I put my hand up and say we have left it late. I'm fully appreciating the need to have a proper lead in and get to know the contacts. There's quite a lot on the list to do it. If you do have an immediate recruitment application, is it is it all the same worth it to send the pack that you've drawn up to some of these organizations?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say largely to those organizations, probably not to a lot of them, because some of them won't even know about trusteeships. They won't know about your organization. So it's a bit hit and miss. And the problem about hit and miss is that it may put people off if they seem to be rushed into doing something. And if it happens again, they may not actually bother to pick up the email next time round. I know we've got a social media network, which Fiona, our colleagues, set up, which you may know about. And that's individuals from Black and Asian backgrounds who aspire to be trustees or current trustees. And we now post adverts from people like yourselves on that, because they're on that list because actually they want to become trustees.
Yeah.
So there's an open door there. But even for those people, we still say they need notice as well, because there's no point in them producing a rushed application and they're not successful, and they need time to do it properly. So yeah, so as early as you can. And if you want to take the risk of sending it short notice, yes, but I personally wouldn't necessarily advise it.
Okay, that's helpful because I mean, obviously the database also, and we're very specifically looking for a treasurer at the moment, obviously somebody with finance qualifications. But in future, we would have a broader range of skills that we'd look at.
Yeah.
And it's how then to pick out a good range of organizations. On the database, are there named contacts within the organizations or just the organizations?
It's a mixture. At the moment, it's just the organizations because we've just gone on the internet, on Google. We're now looking to put names on them. But again, it's time consuming. So that's our plan in terms of going forward next year. But there are 550, so it's a lot of names to research and to find out.
But to go back to that previous question, if there are organizations that are particularly working with you who have subscribed, that might be useful to have a contact.
Yeah, and usually, usually people, when we send the database out, we have a conversation. And that might well include our advice in terms of who people might want to approach. We've just been working with a large national charity, with the CEO of that, and they're starting really early. And he and I and the team have developed a list of about a dozen organizations which fits. It's a children's charity. So it fits their needs, and if they've got some digital skill needs, they've got some lived experience needs. So working with them, we've drawn up a list ourselves, and they've got a list of people who they might target, and they're actively engaging people on that list. So that's the sort of process that I think really works best.
And sorry, just one extra question. Do you charge more as a sort of recruitment service? Do you take an active?
I think there has to be a commercial element. Yeah, so we do.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks. There are some other questions. There's a question from Fiona. Oh no, that's not a question. That's a post. That's good. So anybody else who wants to raise? Have I missed any questions out, Sammy, on the list?
There was one question at the very beginning asking about whether our is live and if they will be updated version.
Yeah, that's a good question.
The most up-to-date information at any time. Yeah.
Yeah. When we started this about a year and a half ago, the database, there were only 100 organizations, and now there's 550. I think people who've already accessed it initially, we're not looking to charge them again for an updated database. So I suggest that people would contact us if they're recruiting again, and they've already got the database and they want an updated version. So I think that's the best way of doing that. Yeah. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, we do update it regularly. So if people do request for it, I think we can send it out. Yeah. And I think it's worth expanding a bit more on our social network. I think some people might not be aware that they can advertise the trustee roles with us. As Laura mentioned, can we send opportunities to you for sharing with that list?
Yeah, and I think, and I'll ask Fiona to say something about that network and the caveats in terms of that, Fiona.
Say something about posting things on the
on the social media network.
Yes, so you can post things onto the social media site, but what we do say, to reiterate what Malcolm and Sammy have said, is that to give people the best opportunity, we really need to have a good lead time. So we're asking people to send things in with a good sort of 2 to 3 weeks so we can post it, give it good exposure, be able to post it a couple of times. And also the other thing that we've asked is, as part of the work, and hopefully you'll all have read Malcolm's excellent guide, so you will share your advert accordingly, to say why it is appropriate to the audience that you're speaking to, because that is really important in terms of making sure that the right people apply for those positions, and it really aids your inclusion when you actually have recruited your trustees, to let people know that you are you're not just inviting people into a pre-existent space who are interested in reforming the space of that board and your culture to make sure it really is much more inclusive. So those are all the things that we are very, very happy to support on with the network. And also, you know, if you can make a donation, there's a lovely big donation button on the TRD website that you can just press and make your donation, because we're a really small organisation, and you know, we're working really hard in the space to change the face of trusteeship. So any donations are welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that pitch, Fiona. Most appreciated. And I think just on that social media network database, for me, we're looking to expand that. It's 120, 130 people on it, and that list has gone organically, it's grown. But for me, I'm looking for 500 by next year, and I've tasked the team with doing that, because the more people there are on that database, the more Black and Asian trustees will understand trusteeship and will be approached and will know about vacancies and will become trustees. And it will be a viable source for charities to advertise to. So again, so if you know of people who are interested in that level of support, then by all means feel free, and we'll perhaps Fiona can share the link to the network. So feel free to share that to individuals within your organizations who you feel would benefit from joining that network. Thank you. Okay, so feel free to ask questions about the database. Those of you who got it, I know Ray, I know you've got. I'm sure you're dying to ask questions about how you might use it. So if you thought about any, feel free to ask now.
I will, but I can't think of any immediate questions. I just need to get a bit more active, really.
Yeah, I mean, Ray, what are your observations in terms of how useful you might find a database in terms of what you need to do to put into it in order to make it an effective tool?
Yeah, I think what you said was very true, that you have to start working with these organizations. It's no good just firing off an email to them and thinking that that's going to solve all your problems. And that is what I haven't really had time to get around to doing. But, I think this discussion has been very helpful.
And I think getting volunteers, which was what we did, to help with that work is really useful. And it's also worth getting volunteers to engage with you, particularly from Black and Asian communities. So, you know, office CEOs, chairs, all are very busy. But if you can work with, I mean, for instance, I'm talking to an intern now for an organization who's just approached me, working on behalf of their board. So that's one way of getting someone to help you to sift through what's on the database as it stands at the moment.
Okay, well, that's useful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kay, I see you on the list, and I know you've just approached us for the database. I wonder whether you've got any questions that you'd like to ask us in terms of taking your request forward.
No, to be honest, I haven't done very much with the database at the minute. We're actively recruiting a number of trustees, and I absolutely take the point of, you know, not just bombarding people with, you know, information packs, and we're very conscious of that. So I think we do want to take some time and try to build some relationships. So it's just looking at the organisations that might be most appropriate for that. And I really like, I think it was Laura's point earlier about the potential to use the database for other reasons. So we're a medical sort of health charity, and it would be great to get some more sort of diverse medical professionals involved in our organisation. So I can see an opportunity for that as well. So I think we need to take some time to just think a bit more about the best way to use the database, and not automatically diving in and just pinging off loads of information packs about becoming a trustee.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kay. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to give one more minute for questions, and if there aren't any, no, there's a question. No, I don't want to keep people
I just make a point about the network? Sorry, Malcolm. I should have said when I was speaking about it that the network itself is an exclusive space for Black and Asian trustees and aspiring trustees. But if you don't identify as such, we still really value the work that you're doing and you as allies. But if you want to put your adverts in, please just email us and then we'll post it in for you.
Great. Thanks, Fiona, for that. If there are no other questions, I'll count from 5, 4, 3. Feel free to jump in. 2, 1. In which case, I'm going to thank you all for attending. I think it's good for us to share what we're doing on the database and to get your comments and feedback. So if you've got the questionnaire, and actually we'll send the questionnaire to people who perhaps have already got it, and get you on how we improve it. We'll probably do another one again because I think it was really helpful for us. And I have to thank the team, Sammy, Subeda, and Fiona, for helping on this hugely and for their work over the year. And we should keep you all in touch with how we're getting on. So thanks a lot and have a great evening. So thanks very much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks very
Thanks.
much.
Bye.
Thanks, Malcolm.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.